morning, people. Good evening. Welcome to United View and welcome to the Full View. Another episode of the Full View. We are back once again. International break. First four games down of the season. 2 wins, 2 losses. A spat between our manager and a high-profile player. We've got a lot to talk about. So I want to send a big welcome to the guy at the top right-hand corner. First time on the channel, Mr. Good Vibes. John, how you doing, bro?
Yes, sir, Flex, and to the panel here. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a while. We've been trying to set this up for a long time. A long time.
Too long.
We're here now.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that we was actually in the same place, in the same room, in the same vicinities and couldn't do this, but now we got over however many thousand miles away, we managed to make it happen. It just goes to show you, innit? Just goes to show you. But no, it's great to have you in. Mina, what are you saying? Obviously, bad one yesterday. I know Mina's going to come with some... she's going to be cussing some former people. I know she's not going to be happy, but yeah. What are you saying, Mina? Are you good?
The weather's nice. That's all that matters, guys.
I like that. Rich, I've had a chance to speak to you after that Arsenal thing as well, so it's going to be good to catch up with you today. How you feeling today, man?
Yeah. Oh man, the meltdown has been melted downing.
Yes.
But on the topic of John has given us some good vibes already. I saw his video earlier today. Oh, did last night, and yes, like everybody calm down.
Let's get some positivity.
We'll get into it.
Go on, let's go.
And Kenny, no little Kenny today.
No, it's at school now. He's back to school now. So
right. He's coming.
I'll see him at the weekend.
He's back to school. Fair enough. And of course, Owen, me old.
Can I just say, by the way, I've just seen this. Just Kevin. He's got a picture of me as his profile picture.
No way.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow,
that's me.
That's you in a blue shirt, right?
Yeah, shirt. That's like insane. That's like my LinkedIn profile picture.
Yeah. Oh man, 100%. But listen, let's get into it. Obviously, what has dominated the news over the last 24 hours is this Jadon Sancho situation where he's taken on the manager. It's not something we wanted to see. It's more attention on the club. It's more drama, and nobody really wins from this situation. Me and Owen have had our say yesterday, so this is more so about you guys, the rest of the panel, and definitely you guys at home. I know Owen was live on this yesterday, but also there has been a few developments in the media suggesting that there's going to be clearly air talks between the two. There's also some reports suggesting that Jadon Sancho could be fined and sort of reprimanded for what he did in an attempt to move on. There's some talks about Jadon Sancho feeling sort of like he's not getting, a fair crack of the whip, with Antony starting ahead of him. There's lots of things online, but let's see how you guys feel. John, we'll come to you as a debutant today, bro. I know you find a positive in a lot of things, bro, and I love that. I really do love that. So how do you see this? I'm intrigued to see how you see this, because it's definitely not a great situation, is it?
Definitely not. And I think this leaves a bit of a stinking taste in our mouths considering that result yesterday. But it was a bit weird for me to figure this out because I had a footy tournament after the game. So after the game, I was out all over the place. And I get home and everybody knows, especially if you follow me, they know that I'm a massive fan of Jadon Sancho. I know he's had a really tough time with respect to his stint at Manchester United, but I back him. I know there's talent there, and I feel like he's a good player, and we just need to unlock him. And that's what we saw last season. We saw Erik ten Hag sort of, putting his arms over his shoulder and taking care of him, almost like a fatherly figure, right? And given the circumstances, what's arise yesterday is clearly not good news. And, you mentioned that I try my best to always try and find the positive, good vibes, but in the world we live in, not everything is always positive. And I think this is one of those things where it's going to be very hard to find the positives, because if you're a manager like Erik ten Hag, with the job that you have, if you make the comments that you make in a press conference like he did yesterday, it doesn't matter if it's a short answer, if it's a long answer, you don't need to answer the questions. You answered it the way you answered it. You know exactly why you did it. So there's definitely some sort of motive behind why he did the thing he did. Now, Jadon Sancho's response, whether it was warranted, justified, or if you think he has every right to clap back at a manager, whatever your thought is, this doesn't look good for anybody. And I personally think that the reason why this happened was because I think there's something else behind the scenes going on that we don't know about. And I think Erik ten Hag is trying to manage Jadon Sancho this way. And I don't think there's any malicious intent behind it. If there's any positive to take from this, I don't think that it's Erik ten Hag's way of being like, oh, get this kid out of here. I don't think that's the case at all. I just feel like this is his way of sort of sort of educating, almost sort of handling Jadon Sancho and his growth.
Out of him.
Exactly. And if this is a way to sort of, try and help him improve overall as a player, then I'm all for it. But the way in which this all sort of transpired, I'm not a big fan of it. And I just feel like if this was something that actually is something cooking behind the scenes, I really wish it was handled sort of behind closed doors.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Mina, what are you saying, man? Like, it's because some people have been saying Ten Hag, like, he opened the door to let this start happening by saying what he said. But then there's other people saying, damn right, like, if there's standards at the club, the manager's entitled to say the reason why a player didn't make the matchday squad, and you got to deal with that. How do you see it? And then, Sancho, don't clap back at the manager. He's in charge. But then again, he's opened out the business in public. How do you see it, man?
I think the manager has every right to say why he left him out of the squad. I think for quite some time now, Ten Hag has protected Sancho. And he's been here, this is his third season now. It's not a good look having a public spat with the manager. But bear in mind, in his statement, he addressed the one point that Ten Hag mentioned as to why he was left out of the squad. And he said, I've been working hard in training. Then he went on a tangent about being used as a scapegoat. I want to know more about that. What is he talking about specifically in that instance of being... Because then I feel like that paints a whole different picture of the situation because...
Colin, where have you been?
He's been asleep. He's been asleep.
Colin's like,
after the Arsenal game, went no social media for me. 24 hours. Open it back up. Like the meme comes in with the pizzas on fire.
He's just tuned into Mina just going off on Jadon Sancho. Like, for no.
But I think the whole scapegoat thing it opens a whole nother can of worms because he's saying that there's another issue behind closed doors that we're not aware of. It's no secret that I think he hasn't had impressive performances, and other people haven't as well. That there's no argument, I think, around that. But I feel like in this day and age that we live on in social media, I think that was more of a statement to the criticisms that he gets online rather than what the manager's saying, because he's saying in his statement essentially, don't believe everything you read. We didn't read anything. We heard it from the horse's mouth. We heard it from Ten Hag. It's not like we heard it from someone at The Sun or Daily Mail or whatever. We heard it from the manager, and I think. Just 1 month of just normality at the club is all I want, honestly.
What does that mean? What's that look like? I ain't seen
one day.
Just one normal month. The way that I see this going, it goes two ways. They will have their discussion behind closed doors. He will get a disciplinary. He will go back to training, come back to the match day squad, etc. Or he will have a discussion behind closed doors, get a disciplinary, and get sent to the under-21s for a bit, until they find a way to get him out. I think it goes either two ways. I think a manager has a right to criticize a player if they're not training to a specific standard. I think it's embarrassing to you for how much you earn, for what you were brought for, that academy players are working harder in training to get into the matchday team than you are. I think that says one thing. But also, I think we only know about a few percentage of like what's unfolding in front of our eyes. Obviously, there's a lot of information we're probably not too privy to. I don't want to see another player versus manager situation because I think it gets toxic in the fan base. It gets toxic on the pitch. I mean, this is going to be the topic of discussion for the next 2 weeks until international break is over. Then we have to worry about Brighton and Bayern Munich away with Maguire and Evans in the back line, all while Sancho probably wants to beat up Ten Hag behind closed doors. There's a lot of problems. I just want one normal month.
John's like, wow, this is really negative, man. This is
but she's spot on though. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, Erik ten Hag has every right to speak his mind, right? And this is horrible timing. It couldn't have come any worse because now this is gonna marinate for 2 weeks. Like we don't need this shit to marinate. Oh, am I allowed to swear here? We don't need this stuff to marinate. You know what I mean? Like
I've never heard you swear, actually.
I'm sorry. It's just sometimes when I
That's
get
what it's
riled
got
up,
to.
it comes. You know what I mean? No, but for real, she's spot on.
Yeah, I hear you, Rich. And then obviously come straight to you after this, Kenny. Rich, how do you? Is there truth? Because Mina's saying basically the manager's right to call him out for not training. But what Sancho is how I took the statement is that he's saying, well, the reason why this is happening is not to do with my training. I train fine. Don't question my professionalism. There is something else that is happening that I won't. He literally says that I won't go into. So he's saying the reason why I haven't been playing or all of this stuff, it's not to do with training. That's why I'm coming to social media, because there's something else. I can't tell you what it is, but there's something else. But Ten Hag's going on this. He's just.
But that doesn't help.
That
doesn't help anyone. That doesn't help anyone. And if he finishes off that statement, right, and that just, you know, context. I love Sancho more as much as anyone, right? You know, South London's finest, that kind of stuff. I'm South London boy. I want him to do well. Like more than anything, I want him to do well. When he came in, #scary_hours. All my WhatsApp groups, I'm pushing it, right? So I want him to do well. But this statement that he's come out with does not help anyone. It doesn't help the club, doesn't help him, doesn't hit the manager, doesn't help the team or the badge that he says that he wants to fight for, you know, to the end, whatever he said at the end of that statement. And I think, yeah, cool. He's coming out saying, oh, there's other things going on. We don't know. We don't know what that is. Like, and we're not privy to those other things. So really and truly, if he thinks there's other things that's going on, he should go and talk to the manager about it behind closed doors. Now, get it, right? You know, we've all been there where, you know, somebody's saying something about you, or, you know, you feel triggered, right? And you feel somebody said something about you. So you just want to clap back. You just want to say something back to them.
Exactly.
But and he's young. He's young, right? So, you know, I think that's another thing that people forget, that these guys aren't, you know, in their 30s. Like, he's a youth. Like, he's young. So there's a lot of things that's gonna trigger him, and he's just gonna do it out of I don't know what the word is, but, you know, just being triggered. So I get exactly now. There you go. That's the one. But it just doesn't help. And, you know, going back to what Mina and John said, right? We have to sit on this now for 2 weeks, not knowing what's going on behind the scenes. You know, having to deal with this negativity, and it's just been one thing after another with us. So only literally 4 games into the season, and it feels like all hell is breaking loose already. And then obviously, my main thing actually from all this whole situation is, Sancho, bro, all you had to do was just keep quiet and pull your socks up and work harder. Because nothing that Ten Hag said in that press conference, I think he actually kind of said it as a flippant comment, like, why didn't you pick Sancho? Oh yeah, because you know, training. And the way he said it, right? I think people are pulling out of context. The way he said it, he said, I had to make a decision based on performances in training for the front line, my options in the front line. I've made a decision that his performance was up standard, so I've gone for other options. That should have been it. If Sancho hadn't come out and said anything, I actually think it wouldn't have been blown up that much. Obviously,
yeah, that's true.
But it has been, because obviously
he's saying the manager's lying. He's saying the manager's lying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. It's a problem that we just did not need. We don't need any more problems. And
Exactly.
then, sorry, just to quickly drop in for somebody else to talk about.
Sure.
Wan-Bissaka, right? Wan-Bissaka never came out and said any of this. When he also had similar issues where he wasn't playing he wasn't having any game time. He pulled his socks up, worked hard. We don't know what went on behind the scenes. He worked hard, now he's back in the team, and nobody's trying to get rid of him from the team. So there you go. So these guys just worked hard. It's a shame. It's a big shame, because I love the guy, man. But I hope there is something a comeback from this. But it's hard to see, to be honest.
Yeah. Kenny, just before we get to you, I'm just going to read out these super chats. Ben says, Ten Hag has successfully distracted us from the terrible Ollie football we've been playing. Arsenal fans compared our tactics to Forest, and it's true. I'm
sorry. That Ollie thing is actually annoying me, man. Anyway. Come
on. It takes time. Stop listening to the Arsenal fans saying that we're no different to Forest and all of this stuff like that. It's not. That's not it. Bro says, big up for American representation. You're flying the flag there, bro. You're flying the flag.
USA.
Yellow bathing suit says, Eric Ten Hag saying what he said about Sancho doesn't do anyone any good. If you want to get rid of the player, comments like that only devalue the player. But that's the question. Is he trying to get rid of him, or is he trying to, like John said, kind of get a reaction out of him and try and spark him into life? I don't know. Joseph says, here to support John Shin, poached from Paddock. No, it wasn't a deadline day exclusive. You know, it's kind of like United have used the Saudi window. We're open for a few more days. I mean, and we managed to get John last minute deal. No, that is not the case, man. John is he's across a lot of platforms, man. So we just wanted to have him drop by United View for sure. And the Manchukushina says, I'm done trying to unlock players. Sometimes we need to just realize players are simply not a fit. Should have sold since it's built up over time. So not having much patience there for Jadon to sort this out. Red Devil says, more surprised seeing John Shin than Sancho fiasco. And Show says, Sancho did the same thing at Dortmund, using the word scapegoat, clear victim complex, get the overpaid hype merchant, but out of the club. Wow, strong words.
Progressively angrier. That's what
exactly. Yeah, progressively angry. Stevie Mac says Ronaldo called it. The players don't listen. And Crush says Antony is so limited. He works hard defensively. Whoop-de-doo, £80 million for what? Consistent bleached hair. Tell me I'm wrong about him. Yeah, K Flow says it's time to back the manager. Pep calls out his players, and you don't see sermons online. Arteta did it with Ozil and Aubameyang. Patterns are developing. Danny says a weird flex against the one man who protected you. Yeah, because Ten Hag was kind of protecting him at one stage, and it was weird. And it seemed like Sancho. Am I making this up? Didn't he?
Yeah, he appreciated it. He appreciated it. He came out and
I'm
said,
sure he said it. Did he say it in a post when he came back? I think he done an Instagram post saying,
the picture of Ten Hag with his arm around him on the pitch, sort of thing. This is what you've worked for.
So we'll carry on talking about that in a second. Exactly. That's why this is fascinating. K-Fro says, also Flex, you are a disgrace and a cheat. I was in the UK the whole time. You didn't show up at Box Park. I leave, and then you have a show in Box Park, Croydon. Big up, though. You should have sent me your diary. I had no idea. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It weren't on purpose, bro. K-Flow thinks I deliberately made sure I stayed away from Box Park when he was there. I promise you it wasn't that. Daniel says, first CM Punk, now Tony Khan, now Sancho.
It's true. The drama. And it's been all covered on my channel, Owen Wrestling News 365. Road to 15K. Come on. Plug. Yes.
Paul says Sancho was insubordinate, period. End of. And Ben says, is Sancho why we've been crap all season? Everybody piling on Sancho as if he's why we've been poor. I don't know. That's not what we're going to talk now.
Hold that
for Kenny. What's your say on all this? Because actually, Kenny, this is actually really interesting because obviously, you're a supporter that's been through many years at United and seen many players come through, different managers, the greatest of all managers, and then managers even before Sir Alex, etc., etc. So, and then you're seeing like a new age type of footballer now where the dialogue between players and managers, the coaching stuff, you can't talk to players how you used to. How do you see all this, man?
I'm just waiting for Piers Morgan's interview on Wednesday night with Jadon Sancho.
He's reached out.
And
then he's reached out.
Yeah, then he goes over. Then he goes over to America and has one with Oprah Winfrey. 2 days after or whatever. So, but isn't that just? It's the modern footballer, isn't it? And it's modern social media as well. And everybody loves column inches about Manchester United. Sadly for us as a football club. If you went back, just over a decade, you would never have heard of these. You'd never, because it wasn't allowed out. And if it did leak, whoever was responsible would have gone, because there was only one person ever going to do it. And we've seen great players, we've seen legends of the club that have had fallouts with Sir Alex, and you can name them: Beckham, Nistelrooy, Keane, Stam. It goes on. The list goes on and on and on. But there's only ever one winner, and in this case, there can only ever be one winner, because I'm a massive fan of Jadon Sancho, and I'm sympathetic in some ways, because the first 2 or 3 games of the season, most fans were screaming to see Jadon Sancho on the pitch, because in America he was probably our best player. We'd seen him a false nine, so we was expecting things. The next thing, he must sit there and he must see Tony Marshall play and think, what's this about? Why can I not get in this team? I can do what he's doing. So I can understand his frustrations. However, Manchester United allowed these things to manifest. And you could be cynical. And there'll be people, the media people in the club today will be looking at, well, if we're talking about this, we're not talking about the non-sale or sale of the club. So it's another distraction. It is another distraction that the Glazers won't give a hoot about. They will not give a hoot about. Where in the past, it would have been a really big story, but it would have been crushed. It would have been crushed and the situation would have been sorted. All we are doing, and to refer to Ten Hag, look what Ten Hag's had to put up with in 12 months. He's put up with more in 12 months than what any manager has ever had at Manchester United or any other club. You've had the Harry Maguire issue. You've had the Ronaldo. We've had the Mason Greenwood. We've had the sale. And we're thinking about, has he got to worry about, now he's got Johnny Evans. Oh, he's got Johnny Evans and Maguire for Brighton. The poor man. He must be thinking. He honestly must be sat there thinking, "Why did I leave Holland? Why did I leave Holland? I can't believe this."
Yeah, it is a bad one.
You've got to get. No, I do hope that they can sort it out and just move on.
Yeah.
There's, the biggest issue that we've got moving forward is about our injuries and this, that, and the other. It's not about one individual and one comment in social media that, sadly, will get more clicks than anything else. Get more clicks and column inches than anything else. So,
but we've created it. We've actually created that situation ourselves.
Exactly.
This isn't like Samuel Luckhurst writing a piece before a game and like there's speculation, or Neil Custis saying something, or Laurie Whitwell saying, "Oh, there's reports of rumblings in the dressing room of this." This is Ten Hag saying he ain't training well enough, and Sancho saying, "Yes, I am. You're lying. There's other stuff." Like it was literally manifested by ourselves, which is really annoying. Lewis Silver says the question is for all the panelists, starting with Flex. What is your view of our future as a club after recent events? Glazers, form, Jadon, and why? Hold that thought. I mean, that's pretty much what the show is going to be about, really, to be fair. And in the words of Lee Judges, he's done it again. He's done it again. Nubian Pharaoh. I don't know how exactly, John. That Nubian Pharaoh, man, woman, or child. I have no idea.
Hopefully not child, because he's spending that money.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Entity.
Yeah.
Entity.
Organization.
Yeah.
What is going on? A £200 super chat. The other day it was a £500 super chat.
Yeah.
It's insane. My people,
Jadon
what
Sancho.
a weekend. He's got enough spare.
I'm still operating. I'm still operating with the conspiracy theory that he is actually Sheikh Jassim. I'm still operating under that theory. It's him.
Buy the club, please. We need you, brother.
And Nubian actually does say this time, my people, what a weekend. It is what it is. Great show. Just don't worry about it.
We need more people like that.
What it is. Yeah. So Nubian Pharaoh, as per usual, thank you very much. That's fine. And Manjakushina says, why did the media only ask about Sancho and not Donny or Scott? Well, they did ask about Scott.
They asked about McTominay. He said he was ill, didn't he?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think the situation with Donny has been pretty fair. He's trying to find a way for him to leave. Really.
Could still go, to
and
Turkey.
Could still go Saudi or Turkey. So
when does the Turkey one close? Do we know?
Is it end of this week? I think maybe something like that. Because there's been rumors that Eric Bailly could go to Besiktas. That move might be back on again.
I can't believe he's still here as well. That's crazy.
It's Man United. Honestly, when I saw Evans come on the pitch, Maguire's one thing, but when I saw Evans, because I just remember saying to KG when he was like, you could bring a little bit of experience, and I think Saeed said something. And I disagreed with Saeed. I said to him, he was like, he probably won't play, so this probably won't hurt us. And I'm just like, if you put players like that on your books, there's a chance
he's going to play. They're going to play.
This was the thing, wasn't it? We said that, didn't we, coming out of pre-season? Because when he first came in and signed that short contract to go for pre-season, I went, well, because you're thinking old Johnny Evans. You're thinking old Johnny Evans. You got to do a job. It'll be fine.
2015.
And then when you saw him in pre-season and he got the runaround from Wrexham, and everyone went, his legs are gone. His legs are gone. And then you worried because you thought, if he has to come on in a Premier League game for Man United, no disrespect to him, but it's not going to go well. And shocker, he came on yesterday. It didn't go very well because it's just you just can't do that. And this is why this morning when I was doing Match Reloaded, I'm somewhat positive. I thought we did all right yesterday. I really did. And also look at the injuries we've got and the fact that it was fine margins. Højlund come on 30 minutes, looked quite lively, different, playing with a number 9. It's bigger than I thought he was as well. It's a giant. Occupying the centre-backs. You're looking at going, we didn't really progress the ball well in midfield. Oh, I know. We're bringing in a ball-carrying midfielder, Sofian Amrabat. He's going to start up the international break. Again, we didn't have 3 of our back 4. Dallow's playing at left-back because, both our left-backs are injured. So I looked at all of that and went, actually, it's quite positive. And it is incredible to me that, a mere, an hour after the game happened and we're all a bit disappointed, no one cared about the game after that because of the Sancho stuff, realistically. Yeah. And I'm just looking at the statement again, and the more I read it in sort of the 24 hours since then, the more it just gets more and more bizarre, like when I read it, because it's 2 paragraphs, and the 2 paragraphs are completely contradictory. of the other, because the first part is saying that basically don't believe everything you read, or, you know, I believe I trained very well. But then the second part is, but I respect the manager's decision. Well, you don't clearly respect the manager's decision because you're coming out and saying that he's wrong, or what he's saying isn't right about you. And with the part where he says, I've conducted myself in training very well this week, well, that's your opinion. But frankly, when it comes to picking the team, it really doesn't matter because you don't pick the team. If Erik ten Hag doesn't believe that you picked the team, you conducted yourself very well, you can have your own opinion on it. And you can come out and say, you know, what he said last night. I wouldn't recommend it either. And I found it fascinating that, you know, it surfaced on social media last night, the article that was written by David Ornstein in 2019, whilst he was still at Borussia Dortmund. And it said, I got it in front of me again, Jadon Sancho felt humiliated / scapegoated / unprotected by Dortmund post Bayern Munich loss and with the Borussia Dortmund public comments, and then goes on about his future. So we've got 2 instances in the case of 4 years where he believes he's been scapegoated after a manager's publicly come out and criticized him. And actually, there's 3 instances of that too, because Gareth Southgate said the same thing during the Euros. He's not training very well. Yeah. So, I mean, we don't know, like John said earlier, we don't know certain details of it. So you do want to be too careful and not jump to too big conclusions. But at the same time, if you're looking for patterns of behavior, or certainly patterns of stuff that's been said in the media, it's there to be seen, isn't it? And I think also with Erik ten Hag, could he have maybe just brushed it under the carpet when he was asked in the press conference? Yeah. But we don't know what's really been bubbling to that point. He might think,
why has he not done that?
But he might think, Flex, I've tried everything. You know, I tried giving him some time off. I tried putting my arm around him. I tried sending him to the Netherlands.
I almost think he just kind of bubbled out.
And maybe, and also, again, like you mentioned, Rich, like when you actually go back and watch it, it's not even like, it wasn't even like venomous from Ten Hag how he said it either. He kind of just gave the reason. Why wasn't James Sancho available today? And he just went, well, you know, I picked the team. We've got forward options, which we did yesterday. We had 2 players in every position available. We had 2 left wingers, 2 right wingers, 2 strikers available, which is a rarity for United.
Yeah,
I think he probably thought
the bench was rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. he probably thought
and Johnny Evans.
And Johnny Evans.
Well.
But also actually
at our disposal.
Yeah.
Just to finish that as well, I mentioned this morning too, because he's saying he's been made a scapegoat. I don't think anyone's coming out of yesterday's result and going 3-1 because Jadon Sancho wasn't available. I don't think anyone's thinking that. If anything, it's an indictment on his Man United career that we go, if Sancho was available, would it have really made a difference yesterday? Probably not. You know, because that's where he's kind of at the moment, realistically.
And that's the irony. That's the irony and the stupidity of this entire situation is that it's all based on conjecture. And at the end of the day, this helps nobody. We were all crying out for where's Jadon Sancho? He could have been the one performing and sort of, you know, adding a bit of that spark that we've seen so far. In the midst of this poor start to the season, Jadon Sancho was one of the players that was standing out. And then all of a sudden, now this all breaks out. And then, like Mina said before, now we're gonna have to sit on this for a week and a half. Like, this is all conjecture, and it helps nobody. And at the end of the day, like Rich was talking about before, this literally could have been just Ten Hag just answering it just casually, no venom, no sting behind it. And then Jadon Sancho maybe was just at home looking through social media, and he just sees a whole bunch of waste man talking about like, oh, Jadon Sancho is trash, whatever. And then he could have posted that in response to these haters. You know what I'm saying? And then like
that's exactly what I think he did.
Yeah,
that's what I think happened.
It could have been anything, but that's why this is all a load of crap because it helps nobody. Because now we're all sitting here and the opposition fans are like, you know what I'm saying? These men are absolute. This helps nobody. That's why this is just stupid from top down, top bottom.
Yeah, it's just more drama. I think the question is now, before we move on to, you know, the squad as a whole and its international break, first 4 games down now. How do we feel? Transfer window, etc. is shut now. We've got players coming back in. Before we get to that, is there a way back, Mina, for him? Like, and I say a way back because somebody could be pedantic and say, a way back to what? He hasn't even been doing anything anyway. You know, I don't mean like that, but basically, actually, no. Let me rephrase the question: is that it? Then is that unrepairable, or do you expect it to be swiftly sorted out and he comes back into training and starts his reintegration back into trying to play some football for Man United, some good football for Man United?
Yeah, I think there's a way back. I don't think he's burnt every bridge. I think whoever advised him to put out the statement is an idiot because that was the dumbest statement ever. Honestly, whatever. I know every footballer always has a team around them that advise them on social media and all of that kind of stuff. His social media team, donuts. One thing I will say though is that statement did give me the kind of vibe like, have you not ever been to parents' evening and there's one class that you always cause trouble in, and when your mum comes to that class, the teacher's like, yeah, she causes trouble in my class, and I'm like, no, she's lying, she's racist. I know damn well I cause trouble in that class, but I'm gonna flip it and try and get my mum's support. And I feel like that statement kind of gave me that parents' evening kind of impression. Is there a way back? 100%. Reintegrate yourself back into the team, work hard, and let your football do the talking on the pitch. It's as simple as that. And one thing I think that messes us up is this day and age of social media. This social media era that we live in when it comes to footballers is like they've got a point to prove on the pitch, but they've also got a point to prove online, because they know one little mistake on the pitch that's getting clipped, it's going on Twitter, it's going on TikTok, everything's going viral nowadays. People are posting memes all the time about you. Jadon Sancho, victim of that. I see it all the time on Twitter, and it's funny sometimes. I think that statement was more of retaliation to that rather than what the manager said. The best way to, in my personal opinion, and this is applicable in any aspect of your life, someone criticizes you, let your work do the talking.
Yeah.
Well, he's the
I think as well,
007, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. And I think sometimes we forget, because just think about it this way, right? If you guys on your own social media, you pick up on stuff when people, if somebody reposts something from UV, for example, right? You'll pick up on stuff that includes you on it. But we don't maybe see all the things that Sancho probably sees because it's not us, right? He probably sees a lot more than we realize. So it probably does get on top of him after a while. And I can imagine it would, once again, he's a young kid, having to deal with that. Yes, people will say, people will be chucking in the chat, but he earns this much money, he earns that much money. He's still a human being, and these things are going to affect him, whether we like it or not. And he's clearly just snapped. And, we compare it. I think, Mina, you mentioned KD the other day, right? Kevin, this earlier on your stream, Kevin Durant, and how he claps back he joins Twitter Spaces and claps back to the fans verbally. But footballers don't do that. And certain people in life can handle, certain level of abuse, I guess, than certain others. So there's no way really that we can legislate for what Jadon Sancho did. Really, I mean,
KD is Rich. KD is a perfect example, because this is a man he's arguably one of the best basketball players of this generation. Yeah. And when people were chatting shit to him, he's like, I can't take this. Before he was out here publicly doing that, man had he had burner accounts.
Always got the burner accounts.
That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And you're spot on. Jadon Sancho is a young kid. It doesn't matter how much money he makes. Right now, he could be in a state of mind where the way he processes things. I mean, I was talking about like how the people around him was like horrible advice. Like, you don't know what's actually going on. So until I think there's more details, I think we should be a little bit more careful about how we talk about a kid, especially when he's been going through a tough time and whatnot. And if repeated behaviors with respect to him feeling scapegoated and whatnot at Dortmund and all these, if this continues to come up, obviously there's a bigger issue to be seen. And I'm not talking about 100%. Just football things. I'm talking about outside of football. So we just, 100%. I think, as much as we are, we have all the rights to chat about whatever we feel, but I just feel like as much as we might feel like Eric Ten Hag's in the right or Jadon Sancho's in the right, I just feel like at the end of the day, we should be a little bit more careful, because I think it's just all conjecture.
Can I as well just chuck, actually, because I think a lot of the conversation that we've had has mainly been on what Sancho did being wrong. I think a lot of people I know, for example, one of my friends, he's very against what Ten Hag did. And I didn't take it that big, because I just thought, what? There's a flippant comment. Maybe after the game, he's a bit stressed. He just kind of answer the question. But certain man will be like, you shouldn't, like we kind of said it earlier. He shouldn't maybe be saying that. And I think maybe the majority of this panel is more like, Sancho shouldn't have done what he did. But really, I can see the other side of the argument as well. Saying,
I do see the Ten Hag. I was, and maybe sometimes doesn't help, but I was kind of on the fence, like a 6-1, half a dozen. I'll be honest, because I agree with the manager should be able to call out unprofessionalism, but my personal opinion is that you can call it out. We've seen Ten Hag lie to the media many times before.
Call it air.
Yeah, call it out. Call it out. Yeah. This is the call it out section. Yeah, like we've seen him dodge things. We've seen him be strict on things. We've seen him be stern with things. And I'm not saying, because like I said, the way he says the comments, there isn't malice there. I agree with that. But I do think as soon as you air your laundry in air your dirty laundry in public, it just opens up the door. Because even let's just paint a picture of, let's say Ten Hag did say what he did, but Sancho still hadn't said anything yet. Let's be honest. We would be like, tell you what, even Ten Hag just said it. Are we just going to ignore that?
It was already happening. It was already happening on socials.
Yeah. It wouldn't be as big as this. Sancho has made it 100% worse. Of course,
because we celebrated that when he does it before. When he dropped Rashford and he goes, "Why did you drop Rashford?" He goes, "Disciplinary." Everyone goes, "Good on him. Well done, Eric. Well done."
That's what I mean. But the heat. But that's what I mean. So the heat. What I'm saying is, no one would have just forgot that he said that. It would have been, I tell you what, Ten Hag, standards. Actually, let's have a conversation about Sancho, because all of a sudden now, our manager just said that he's not training hard enough. Our manager just said that he wasn't ready to compete at the highest level at the Emirates in 1 week. Because let's just face it, the week before, he came off the bench, right? Old Trafford, did he? Against Forest. Did he come off the bench?
I think so.
He did.
I think he did.
And he looked and he looked kind of sharp. He came off the bench against
Wolves.
Tottenham.
It was Wolves.
All 3 games.
He came off.
Oh, 3 games.
Yeah. To the point where, like you said, Kenny, we've been kind of saying, "Oh, why doesn't he start? Maybe he doesn't start. Why doesn't he start?" So what Ten Hag's saying is that in 1 week, from when we played Forest at 3:00 on Saturday, all the way up till Friday evening, his training was that bad. I can't pick you.
Well, it might not necessarily be that flex, because again, he dropped Marcus Rashford for being allegedly a minute late to a team meeting.
Yeah,
I mean, these are the kind of
but he's saying it's training, though. He's saying it's training.
But my point is that's the details we're talking. So for Eric Ten Hag, if Jadon Sancho was off in 1 training session, he might be like,
that could have been it.
On the squad.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Let alone a whole week. And again, because he's saying that's the kind of standards that it is at Manchester United, whereby 1, you can't go sort of missing for a week in training. You can't go missing in 1 training session on 1 day. And I just think we have to be, I think we have to be really careful. I understand your job as a manager is to manage. So you've got to manage the players and stuff like that. But as I said, he might be sitting there at the end of his tether going, look, I've tried playing nice with Jadon. Now maybe I say something in the press that maybe puts a rocket up his ass and then suddenly he's going to be really good now or something like that. I don't know. But I think we have to be really weary about, because I've seen people do this of going, wow, Eric Ten Hag shouldn't be throwing his players under the bus. I really don't think he was. Have you seen a Jose Mourinho press conference? Look how he talked about Luke Shaw. That's throwing someone under the bus.
Called Calvin Phillips fat.
Yeah,
exactly. No one said anything because they win all the time.
Exactly, and we see managers do that because sometimes they just think, I've got to get through to him, because obviously 1-to-1, that's not happening. That's not provoking a response. Maybe, even though it's not the reaction Ten Hag was looking for, he's like, great, fine, I got a reaction out of him. I've actually seen some emotion. I don't know. But to sort of go like, what's happened in 1 week? I said we've seen Ten Hag make decisions based off 1 minute of lateness, 1 minute of, people. That's the standard.
Yeah. As fans, we welcome Ten Hag from the point of view that for 18 months, or the previous 18 months, we were distraught that nobody was fighting for that badge. Nobody on that football pitch. And when Ten Hag speaks, he talks about process, discipline, standards. That's all he talks about. Doesn't talk about football. Talks about standards and process, etc., etc. So he's drilling it in to us as fans of that high expectation that he has. And like you've just said, we remember the Rashford issue, but with Rashford, he brought him on as a substitute and he scored. Yeah. Rashford came on after being interviewed and laughed and said, it was my own fault, I was late. I'll learn from that. But it was forgot about. It was seen as a joke. But what it told fans was, as we've already said, he has got his standards. Now, whether it slipped out in a press conference or whether it was purposely said in a press conference to let people know, we'll never know. We'll never know. But I just think, and I do hope, that Ten Hag wins the argument, because if he doesn't, and all of a sudden we get into a situation where Ten Hag's been saying, well, hang on a minute, this cost us 80 million. You can't do that. Then all of a sudden we've lost another manager. Because what we have to do as fans, we have to respect the fact that he has driven into them players that badge is everything. And that's what he speaks about. Doesn't speak
that's
about
the big problem now, though, because No, I'm just going to say a lot of people now are saying there's a lot of hate for Ten Hag going on that now. And as you know, we saw the comment earlier about the Ole football, Ole Ten Hag thing. And it seems that a lot of people are falling out of love with him, which is a shame.
It's expectations. And it's a bit like Eddie.
That's insane. To me, I think that's insane.
It is. But it's the world.
And I actually think that's a loud minority as well, if I'm being honest.
Look at Eddie Howe as a prime example. Eddie Howe could walk on water in Newcastle last year. If he loses another 3 games, they'll be calling for his head. It's game over. It's gone.
Yep.
So the football fans are very, very fickle. We just believe that there is a bigger picture with Ten Hag, and that's why we love him, and that's why we want him. And I just hope they can smooth it out, get it sorted, keep it behind closed doors in future, and let's get on with the football.
Just before, like the last thing actually on this is, I want to just address this, the Antony being the teacher's pet thing, because basically, you know, I'm one of Antony's biggest critics. So I'm not going to shy away from that, but I will defend him a little bit here, because basically, ability-wise, with how they've been playing, let's be honest, Antony hasn't tore it up. Okay, he hasn't. He's got an awful. For me, to put it lightly, he's got an awful lot of work to do to, you know, for us to start seeing some return on that big investment. Sancho, of course, has been here for 2 years. That was partly with Oli and some with Ten Hag last year, but has been in a similar trait. The only difference between Antony and Sancho is that Antony works with a minimum base rate of intensity. That's it. Output, I get it. They've both been rubbish. Antony over a smaller amount of time because he was just in his first season. Sancho comes with a little bit more weight because we're kind of like, hang on a minute. I saw the kid at Dortmund. I saw the numbers that he put up. I saw him in the Champions League. I saw him go to Nou Camp and put people on their ass. I saw him play against Bayern Munich and dance through defenders. I've seen a sample size. So where is it? So it stems from frustration. But in terms of Erik Ten Hag just having Antony as his guy, well, I would say, why is maybe Palestri not playing there? Or I've said that already. I do agree. Like, why is he not being dropped? But I just think it comes down to intensity. It's not like Sancho has kind of put those kind of shifts in where we're like, well, off the ball, he's really doing this, or he's really busting a gut to do that. And I just think, obviously, when you add in the fact that Ten Hag did buy him, there is going to be an element of he's going to want to get the best out of him versus Sancho, who he didn't buy. So look, me personally, someone said, Mark said I'm sitting on the fence here. I'm not. What I'm saying is that I put it this way. Let me put this in black and white. I don't rate Antony, but I can see why he starts ahead of Sancho. That's what I'm saying. Facts. Because when I see Sancho in games, he is very passive. He is quite soft. He doesn't have like this innate desire to do things with intensity. Now, yes, that's stylistically. Yes, that's he needs players to link up with the style of football. That's down to the manager to do that. I understand that. But the base rate of any footballer, I don't care if you're shit or if you're amazing, is you have to work hard. That's just a basic minimum requirement. And if you're looking at it, Garnacho gets about, he works hard. Rashford is direct, he gets about, he works hard. Even Palestri does it. Like Rashford maybe doesn't always work hard.
I was going to say,
Marcus Rashford. But he does have an X factor where he just got
you see why he's playing.
There's output. There's output.
Yeah, yesterday hardly touched the ball, scored. Last year at the Emirates, hardly touched the ball, scored. Yeah. So
created big chances as well.
Created 2 big chances. Was crap for most of the game against Wolves. One as a penalty, got an assist. Went to the Nou Camp, terrorized. What's his face? I even asked him. What's his name again? Koundé. Should have got him sent off. Went past Rafinha from a corner, caused an own goal. Rashi can do things in flash moments. So he's always going to get the nod. And he's got 30 goals behind him. So I just feel like I can see why Ten Hag is picking Antony over Sancho on the right-hand side. But does Sancho's argument could always be, look how crap he's been playing. Why haven't I been given a run? Give me 10 games. Give me this. Give me that. Let me. How can I operate? How can I try and get back in when I know as soon as I have a bad 20 minutes, or if I don't score an assist in this one game, I'm out.
I don't think it's about Antony and Sancho. I think he's frustrated that he's been using him. He's probably sat down and said, the coaching team, we're going to use you as a false nine. And he's used him as a false nine. Yeah, it sees Martial on the pitch. I'm no disrespect. I take it what he's saying about Rashford. Then flash moments, he's superb and he delivers. But Antony Martial delivers nothing.
Well, Ten Hag said that Martial, if we want to talk about strikers, Ten Hag said that Martial played well yesterday, right? Yeah, he said he had a decent game. He said him and Højlund had a good game.
See, so we can lie to the media. We know.
Yeah.
See?
I said examples. He said De Gea was staying. Yeah.
Well, there you go. And he said Ronaldo's in his plans. So,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think obviously, if you compare just those two, I think personally, like, okay, cool. And somebody said it in my comments, on my video, right? The problem wasn't our strikers yesterday, I don't think, right? But if you compare Martial and Højlund yesterday, night and day almost. Like, Højlund gave us so much more in terms of like physical attributes up front. He was such a presence up front. But Martial, I don't know what he was given yesterday personally. So, and it's a shame once again. I like Martial, but
nothing.
He's just hold up the ball, win a little foul, but he can't run anymore.
He's a giant of a man. He's a giant of a man.
Højlund,
he came on yesterday, and Gabriel and Saliba literally went, what is this? We were expecting this. We were playing a game against a striker who kind of just sort of drifts between the two centre backs, a couple of layups, all that kind of stuff. Suddenly Rasmus Højlund comes in, he's all arms and elbows and all that kind of stuff. Should have had a penalty as well. He comes on and occupies centre backs. Look, you don't want to get too carried away because ultimately, what's his job to do? Score. We don't know if he can do that yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But he's young, and that's why I mentioned it earlier. That's why I'm positive. I will put it out there now. You know me, Flex. I don't like predictions. Manchester United will finish in the top 4 this season. We will qualify for the Champions League. We will, because people are complaining. It's going to take me a second. I can't be bothered. But the point being is that the reason I say that is people are talking about our start to the season. They're going, 50%, 2 home wins, 2 away losses. In any of those games, we played our strongest 11. We have not. No. Like last season, once again, we are delayed. Once we get after the international break, see what happens with the injuries, it's going to be a while before we can actually play our best team. And our best team yesterday would have given Arsenal much more of a game than our kind of average team did anyway. We gave them a game with players on the pitch that, again, weren't even our strongest. Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, with our strongest team, will be nowhere near. Johnny Evans won't even make the bench, let alone get on the pitch. And we're talking about Rasmus Højlund, the great 30 minutes. Imagine he plays 90. Imagine he has a whole 90 minutes of him playing off of Marcus Rashford. Imagine Amrabat can take the ball off Lisandro Martinez and carry it through the midfield. We were talking about how great we passed out from the back yesterday because we did. Andre Onana, the stat about Onana at halftime was incredible, that he completed more successful passes than David De Gea had done throughout the entirety of his Man United career, apart from 4 games. David De Gea was there over a decade, right? That's crazy.
They're catching strains, even though
in 45. But it's not even like Onana's better than De Gea. It's just saying yesterday was one of the first times that I saw when we were playing out from the back under proper pressure in the first half as well, that United went, stick to the game plan. Last year, we had gone out for a throw and wouldn't work, go long, abandon ship. We didn't do that yesterday. And I just think when the better players get in, I feel like we'll be all right. I really do. I don't think it's time for Chicken Little, the sky is falling, because it's not. Now, the roof might be falling at Old Trafford, but that's the Glazers' problem. Yeah. And then we got to figure that out. That's the biggest issue. But as far as the team, like I said, I'm confident.
John, I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the performance. At half-time, I was happy. At 88 minutes, I was ecstatic. At 97 minutes, I was heartbroken. And that's football. But that's football, isn't it? That's football. But I had no issue at all with the way that we tried to play. Do you know what I mean? We was never going to go. It was always going to be crash and burn, hit them on the break or whatever. And for a lot of that game, we played well. And I thought both teams pressed well. And you've already touched on it, but the concern, and I take on everything that Owen's saying, but it's how quick can we get them back? Because the real concern is Brighton. The front 3 at Brighton. And if it's Onana trying to pass to Johnny Evans and Maguire, we've got a problem.
My boy Evan Ferguson, man. Sorry, John, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, Owen was talking about Saliba and Gabriel yesterday. You saw that face. Like, I had a friend in high school, shout out Z. We'd be sitting in the lunchroom just eating, and his brother, I'm telling you right now, this man, he used to scrape. This is the nastiest thing. He used to scrape his belly button with his finger and cut it on and stick it on your nose, and you just be sitting there and you just go, "Oh shit!" Like, what the just happened? And that was what Saliba and Gabriel looked like. What happened? They got rushed. fucking read me.
But you even shouted him out by name as well. You could have left his name out there. Z.
Nah, he's got to get. He's getting called out. No,
that is disgusting.
No, but for real, like all jokes aside, they looked like they got rushed yesterday when Højlund came on, and Højlund. The multi-dimensional layer to his game. As soon as he came on, he had the physical attribute. Gabriel looked like he was having an extremely difficult time. Yeah. He laid off that ball in that passenger play.
Yeah.
Like there's so many layers to his game at his age. And look, we're trying our utmost best not to put pressure on the young fella. I'm telling you right now, I could not stop smiling as soon as he got on that pitch yesterday. The levels to his game, and people know I've just been a big hater of Antony Martial since he's joined. I'm just keeping it 100. At the end of the day, as much as
I've never in Martial FC. He's never.
Hell no. Me and Adam used to clash all the time. I'm like, what you talking about? No, but for real, just like. Martial, at his best, what he provided the most was his dynamism going forward on a 1v1 situation. Defenders hated giving him space because he was always the great player to take on players 1v1. Now, that pace that he had, the lethality behind it, it's gone. And whatever you might see in Martial, it's so one-dimensional that, in my perspective, I think given the caginess of the game yesterday, he still didn't really provide much. And what I loved most about Højlund when he came on is, apart from his own individual game, he almost rallied the troops. The rest of the Man United,
did you see
Casemiro go? He's like,
we had that with the back line last year. We don't have it anymore. We need that kind of energy.
We need the high fives.
It's not passion. It's not just passion, but it gets you going, right? As
Absolutely.
Fans and as players, if you're playing on the pitch, you need G'ing up.
He came on and he rallied the troops. The rest of the squad looked like they were ready to press. They knew that if Højlund led that line pressed from up top, they knew that there was a much higher chance of winning that ball. So everybody else is like, all right, we're pressing. Let's go. And that was the energy that we saw. And that's what sort of shell-shocked the Arsenal backline. It's a work in progress. You know what I mean? We just need to take our time a little bit.
My issue really is that, we're like, I'm more for positivity. I'm probably too positive sometimes myself. But, there's other teams involved in this, and Liverpool, City, Arsenal, I think, who else? Spurs are unbeaten at the moment. 4 games in. All right, let's calm down. But they are unbeaten at the moment. So some would say that's already the top 4 sorted. Like in terms of if you're going through the season, they keep up this kind of form. So we've got a long way to go. That's what I'm saying. So, I'm confident as well that the team will play better. But then when you have things like this happening outside of the pitch, with Jadon and, Glaze, the old Glaze issue is always going to be there. These kind of issues that, Kenny said earlier, Ten Hag has had to deal with so much. And if the players now start, I hope not, yeah. But if, obviously, let's say your best friends, Jadon and Rashford, for example, are really good friends. If Rashford doesn't like the way this is playing out and he starts acting up, and who else, you just don't know how that dressing room is going to react to all of this. So I think my thing is really, can the team and the squad and the dressing room generally handle this problem and stick to the rules and principles, good is not good enough, all this stuff, and still move ahead and do the things that we need them to do to get results? Because ultimately, all of this, we played well. It's all bittersweet because we need points. And if we don't get points, then it's irrelevant how well we played.
Can I just say as well, when Shin was saying stuff about Antony Martial, Mina's face was a picture. Okay, I feel like Mina's ready to defend Martial. We've got a representative of Martial FC in the bottom right-hand corner. Mina, speak your piece, speak your truth.
Let's do it.
It was nothing about Martial. I was just disgusted about what he said about his friend.
Yeah,
I was traumatized.
It was true.
Traumatized.
I'm going to be honest, it triggered my gag reflex, honestly, a little bit. I was like,
my bad.
I'm surprised he's still a friend.
No. Once you do that, no way. I don't talk to nobody.
No, you leave it. He's not there no more. Actually, Mina, how do you feel? How do you feel actually about us going forward? Because it's true. Like we are a way off getting everybody in. Like Luke Shaw's not going to play again for a while. It looks like. Hopefully Martinez is okay. Varane's out already. Mount's still out. Amrabat's only just got through the door. Højlund only just came on the pitch yesterday. How excited how do you see us when everyone is settled versus, how we look now?
As long as the Glazers are here, I don't think I can be too optimistic. And I know people might say I'm being negative, but I will give you my reasons. Number one, Johnny Evans should never have signed a contract. I think the fact that the club would rather overlook academy prospects to be a 5th or 6th choice centre back, rather than bringing in a 36-year-old that is clearly not past it. Number one. Number two, the Harry Maguire issue. My issue is not with Evans and Maguire, because they are just called upon and they come onto the pitch. My issue is those senior up. Maguire should have never been at the club, but it is what it is. The inability to offload him this year, whole issue with his, the difference in the contract that West Ham were offering in comparison to what Manchester United were paying him. That's another problem. The Jadon Sancho thing, for example, I remember he was linked to a move out of Old Trafford at the beginning of the transfer window, and it never transpired kind of into anything. They should have been proactively trying to get him off the books, if I'm being honest, because I came into this season saying that if there's any player that's got something to prove, that needs to play like they got a chip on their shoulder, it has to be Jadon Sancho. Yeah. They went out and authorized, don't get me wrong, I loved Højlund's cameo yesterday. After the third time he was applying pressure on the back line, I was standing up in front of my TV clapping like this. I was like, wow. But who authorized for us to sign a striker that's injured, that couldn't even, we've known for so long our biggest problem has been a number 9. So why was that not the first thing that we signed? Why did we sign Mason Mount first? Because even if Højlund was injured and he came in injured, he would have had a bit more time to recover and then be ready for the season. But he came in and missed the preseason and missed 3 games. I think that's another issue. On top of that, the money that we spent on Antony, ridiculous. Talent ID, stupid. I don't know what the scouts are doing at Manchester United.
ID, oh no.
I genuinely think that the scouts at Manchester United, they just go to Spain and they go to Italy for a holiday. They don't go there to scout anyone. They're just there to enjoy a free trip, paid expenses on the company card, and then Manchester United will have to pay for that at the end. I can be as optimistic as possible and say top 4 is the goal. Top 4 shouldn't be our standard. It should not. Right. We are not a top 4 club. We sound like Spurs. It's crazy. I agree with Roy Keane. Roy Keane was saying the other day, we've become the new Spurs. We shouldn't be saying top 4. The only solitude that I find in this is that this is progress. It's a process, and we have to be patient with Ten Hag. We have to be patient with his team. We haven't seen his full starting 11 that he wants, but really and truly, over the last couple of games, there's 4 or 5 players of his that he's brought in the starting 11. So once are we saying that we have to wait till we see a whole starting 11 of Ten Hag's players, the Ten Hag caliber, the Ten Hag way? I don't know, but for us to say, oh, top 4 is, we will get it. That's not the standard that we're at. That is not the standard. We are not a top 4 club. We are I know I sound stupid, but we're Manchester United.
United. Yeah. I hear you.
You're right. You're right, Mina. You're right.
A couple of super chats here before we wrap up. Where's that? Why did the media suspense? There you go. Danny says, 5 of our backline out, no Amrabat or Mount, and 15 minutes of Rasmus Højlund. United smash Arsenal at home when fit. We are better than this, just decimated by injuries at the moment. Yes. And Mark says, I think this is a learning curve for Erik Ten Hag. He's not used to people worth this kind of money and ego. It will come good for Ten Hag. Well, he's definitely not fazed by it, is he? Clearly, whether it's Ronaldo, who's one of the goats of the game, whether it's De Gea, who's been at Manchester United over a decade, whether it's Marcus Rashford, who's 10 seconds late and was our best player at that in that specific moment of time. He doesn't care. He definitely doesn't care. Danny says, wanted Palestra and Garnacho before Sancho on work rate. And Carl says, we say he looks sharp against an 11 that have used 70 minutes. When the game begins, he is missing because he is subpar. Leave that one. Flex, what do we know? Well, do we need to acknowledge the Antony news? I'm just going to read out a statement that Antony has put out on his social media just as a closing thing, and then that's what more can we say? That's what we have to wait for. Ben says, seriously, y'all think we're playing well and can't criticize Erik Ten Hag's tactics? You definitely can criticize Ten Hag's tactics. No manager's exempt for that. I repeat, we're playing like Ollie. We expect better from a better manager. Ben's not having it, basically going in on Ten Hag. Danny says, we always need to give time to players. Garnacho took his minutes. Mainu, Højlund immediately showed up. Bruno Martinez. United got to get rid of bad fits. And why Fred was sold if Scott McTominay won't be used, says Paranshu. Sorry. And Sand and Ash, thank you for the contribution. No words, but thank you. And Chris says, game ended with a 20-year-old debutant at striker, a left wing playing right wing, a midfield. Listen, don't say that about Christian Eriksen. He played amazing. But I think that's what you're saying. A right back playing left back, 5th and 6th choice pensioners, centre backs. What a mess. And Stilo says, trying to take back the #1 spot in the full view fantasy league. Big up to the UV community. Yet another international break distraction. Cancel low culture. Just to finish off, Antony has said the following on his Instagram. He said, out of respect for my fans, friends, and family, I feel obligated to speak publicly about the false accusations I have been a victim of. From the beginning, I have handled this issue seriously and with respect, providing the due clarifications to the police authority. The police inquest is under cover of justice, and therefore I cannot make its content public. However, I can say with confidence that the accusations are false and that the evidence already produced and more to be produced show that I am innocent of the accusations made. My relationship with Miss Gabriella was tumultuous. Is that the right word? Tumultuous, with verbal offences from both sides, but I never practiced any physical aggression. Every time, whether in testimony or in interview, she presents a different version of the accusations. Thus, I come to deny the accusations made and inform that I remain at the full disposal of the Brazilian authorities to clarify what is needed. I trust the ongoing police investigations will reveal the truth about my innocence. So look, we're not going to have like an open forum kind of going into all of that stuff, but that is very much how it was with the Mason Greenwood situation, guys.
Yeah.
You know, not even just why at my club, forget that. Just the fact that this keeps happening in society, that these sorts of things, these triggering situations are happening across our society is just sad. From
the world we live in.
And I think it's important just to, in case people aren't sure what that is in response to, there was an interview out today from Antony's ex-partner putting some quite serious allegations towards him. And I think it was later revealed that she had filed a police report in both Brazil and in the UK, apparently. And that's what that is in response to, just for a bit of well-rounded context on it.
Yeah. John's had enough. He's off.
He's having camera issues.
Too much for one night. But yes, obviously, when the club speak and Antony speaks, we will see what happens on that. John, you look a bit worse for weather. The colour's gone a little bit.
It's gone back to the 70s.
On my channel, I get like 10 viewers, and my thing looks crisp. And I'm here with one of the big audiences, and my shit is starting to look like I'm on VHS tape. I don't know what the hell is happening. I am sweating. Are we closing soon?
We're done. No, we're done.
John Shin turned into a silent movie star. It's all gone black and white. Charlie Chaplin. I mean, it's incredible.
Honestly, big up to Kenny, big up to Rich, big up to Mina as always, and of course, big up to John for coming through. It's been really good having you on. Good vibes, John. The link to everyone's socials and channels, including Mina's. Mina's at 1K now as well. Big up,
KG. I'm coming.
Yeah, she's coming. She's coming.
He knows.
Absolutely. And Owen's channel as well. And Richard's channel. Everyone's ads where it needs to be done is in the video description below. So we are out of here, guys. Take care. See you all again soon. Peace.